I'm going to show you how to make bread, homemade bread, which smells so delicious and it tastes really good. And there's only 4 ingredients, so you don't have to be intimidated. This is no-knead bread. You don't need to knead it, you just need to give it time. So, this is not a recipe that you want to do while you're in a hurry. We're not in a hurry, but we are up for some delicious homemade bread. I'll show you how. 4 ingredients: salt, yeast, flour, and water. We've already got a 1.5 cups of water in here. And I put it in there hot because the bowl was cold and we need the yeast to do its job. And it's got to be warm to do that job. We need a teaspoon of salt. Doug, are you sure that's a... Hey, I've been cooking long enough. I know that that's a teaspoon of salt. Give or take a couple of grains, teaspoon of salt. Give it a little stir. We're going to add 3 cups of, you're probably going to have all-purpose flour. That's fine, that's good. But kneading develops the gluten in the flour. So I like to use high gluten when I'm doing this recipe. But it won't matter to you. It just changes the bread structure a little bit. But what you want is fresh, hot, delicious bread. I put in 3 cups to our 1.5 cup water. It's going to be a little soupy, I betcha. That's why I pulled another cup there, and we'll put them all together. We're just stirring it with a wooden spoon. Right now I'm going to put in a teaspoon of yeast. Doesn't matter too much. Let's check Dougie's work again, see if he knows what he's talking about. Oh, he does. He does know what he's talking about. I get quantities of yeast because it's a lot cheaper than those little packets. Start with the little packets. If baking isn't for you, you don't want to have a whole bunch of yeast because it goes bad. You got to keep it in your refrigerator. It's got a fresh date on it. It doesn't last that long. But if you're not sure how powerful your yeast is going to be, use more. Now, I'm glad that I didn't add this cup of flour. 3 cups of flour is just fine. That's the moisture content we want. We want to stir this until it starts to clean the sides of the bowl, which it's doing right now. Getting all that excess flour and sticking it into the dough. There we go. Just keep stirring. And you'll see that it starts to come together in a nice, potentially delicious mass. So we have a teaspoon of salt, teaspoon of yeast, 1.5 cups water, and our 3 cups flour. You might have to add more or less, depending on how moist your flour already is. We're going to cover this with saran wrap, and we're going to let it set for however long it takes to double in bulk. Bread doesn't always cooperate. It's been rising a couple hours in the warm oven, which is no longer warm. It is not doubled in bulk, but it's close enough. I gotta take a bike ride before it gets dark because I haven't gotten any exercise today. I've been cooking with you, which has been lots of fun. This is parchment paper. In fact, I used it for something else, garlic toast. Check out that tutorial. But I'm going to use it now for the bread. Even though it hasn't doubled in bulk, it's close. And we need to make it match our time frame. Boom. There it goes. Take this, we could shape it any which way. The beautiful thing about parchment paper is it's made for baking stuff. And it will not let your bread stick, like if you put it on a piece of foil. If you put it on foil, that's fine. Just spray it with cooking oil. Take a paper towel if you don't have any cooking oil spray. Drop some oil onto that, and then wipe the paper towel on the foil. But parchment paper is made to not let pastries and breads stick. So we've covered it so the outer surface won't dry as it continues to rise. We're going to let this rise while I take my bike ride. I don't know how long that'll be. When we get back, if it's puffy enough, if it's doubled in bulk, I think it was like a third more when we pulled it out of this bowl and transferred it to here. You need to let it rise again, because as you do this, as you mess with it, it falls, it drops. So we want to let it rise again, and then after it does, we'll poke it in the oven, a 325 degree oven, for about 40 minutes, or however long it takes before it's done. Well, I went on my bike ride, and then I got invited to a movie, so I went, and that meant that I didn't pay much attention to the bread last night. So I set it out on the porch, and it turned out to be about 15 degrees, and then I brought it back in when I got home from the movie late last night, and so the bread has risen. What we need to do is slash the top. I've been preheating the oven, and it's pretty darn hot. I've got a pan of water in there to make the crust thicker. So I'm going to slash it with a new razor blade. See that? That's going to let it expand the way we want it to. And I'm going to make up another egg wash. I showed you those in the dinner roll tutorial. But it's so easy. I'm going to go over it again while I hold the camera in my hand. Grab an egg. All we need is an egg. Crack it. And now I'm going to beat it with a fork. I've got my handy dandy, well now it's looking a little rusty and gross, 50-cent paintbrush from Home Depot. I like the egg wash best. In the dinner roll video we went over what happens when you brush uncooked dough before you put it in the oven with different things, with milk, with beaten egg. What else did we use? Well, it's in the video. I'll put the link up right about there. I love doing that. I hate editing though. I'm just not that good at it. I'll get better. One of the things is I'm going out today. It's on my list to buy a microphone, because when I put the GoPro camera I use, it's high definition. It's awesome. But in the case, which is waterproof, it also doesn't really let in the sound. It's not made for that. It's made for skydivers and stuff. I'm not a skydiver, although my son is. Roger over there. Hey, buddy. And I'm gonna be. One of these days we'll go together. I'll get the time. All right, you pop this in the oven. There it goes. And we're gonna probably cook it for about 45 minutes. Maybe less. It's about 425 degrees in that oven, I believe. I'd have to put on my glasses and read the thermometer I've got in there. Oh, the coffee's ready. All right, gotta go. Let's see what's going on with our bread. This is probably a hot pad. There we go. Oh, I think it needs a little more time. I like it a little more gold. But that's looking pretty good, isn't it? Yeah, it's too soft. Back in you go, my friend. Let's cut open this bread and have a look. It's got a tough crust. It's got a good smell. It's got a real non-uniform body to this bread. There's a lot of holes and openings. It needs butter, and it needs salt. But it sure does look pretty, and you can't believe how good the house smells. So that's our bread. Super easy to make. Salt, water, flour, yeast. No knead bread.